Yes, even growing up from a young child, I saw things that just appeared unjust to me, and actually seeing an impact at a very young age of an impact I had. And I learned that a single minute can actually change someone's life. I know it sounds very idealistic, and I know that happens to be true. I remember my grade 1 teacher bundling me up and giving me that little hug at the end of the day. And through 12 years of school, I remember that kind of respect and regard that I was given by this one teacher. What does that mean? It means we assume that they actually know the answer better than I do. So that high regard puts other people first, and so then my job is just serving, being the best server as I can of what they want to do and where they want to go. Or working in Africa, even street children, 9, 10 years old, they know far better than us where they want to go. We learned that the hard way. We assume a street kid, the first thing you must want is a home to live in. And we were dead wrong. We arranged them put them in to be in homes, and that's the last place they wanted to be, because that's where they're on the street, because it was in homes where they were under the control of big people, where they were abused, and the things that put them on the street. And they were more comfortable and felt more secure on the street. But asking them what they want, they want to know to spell their name, just a little pride thing. They want to know how to add because they're doing business, but they don't know how to make proper change, so they don't know if they're getting a good deal or not. And so they know exactly what they want.
Breakdancing, Dylan, look. For street kids, these guys are good. Look at that, Dylan. Morna. That's good. É menos quente.
Yeah. Nem precisa ver para tocar, eh?
By year 3 and 4, they're asking for a place to live, but under something that they can control. And so those are some of the lessons, that we leave our assumptions behind, and just by putting a very high level of regard for the people we're working with. So that's just an example of a lesson. So I decided to start Help International in the belief that there's truly a place for really studying the science of helping, and studying it, experimenting with it, and then teaching it to others.
Today's society is based around creating things that aren't meant to be reused. And we're slowly getting there, where we're making things that can be created to decompose and become natural again, or to be used over and over and over again. So what Rodney and Help International has done is he's created a system to use things that would otherwise go into trash and make it into something that can be put into a house or put into anything that can be insulated or boards. So you guys are part of something really great. And again, you guys are the first people to ever do this.
Well, I am a student at the University of Guelph, which is in Ontario, and my program is environmental toxicology, and some of my courses are pesticides in the environment, soil and plant relationships, and a lot of chemistries and statistics.
4, and then you just want to follow the line and cut all the way down. Yeah. And
Do that all the way down.
yeah, 4 square meters.
Oh no.
Well, I'm from Estevan originally. I'm going to school at the University of Regina. My program is International Studies, and I have a concentration in development. Basically, I'm just learning about problems and issues that developing countries are facing as they develop, and kind of how to help people overcome those.
Help International was kind of shown to me by a friend who is very involved at school, and she told me that it's an opportunity of a lifetime to get out there and experience working with children and working in research and development that is unlike anything I've ever seen in a university degree.
My friend Rodney started saying, I'd like to do other things, not just have show and tell type projects with students and others, but I really want to start doing it so it's more of an experience where they can experience it in an outdoor setting and experience the environment. And he said, would you be my first class? I said, sure. And at that time I was teaching at Campbell Collegiate. That was an amazing first year because there wasn't any other group that had ever been out here. We were sort of building things as we set ourselves up here. Even those picnic tables that you might have noticed over there were put together without nails by two of our Campbell Collegiate parents. And we called those two gentlemen the Power Rangers because they were just, oh, we could build this, we could build that, and they had the students all involved. So here's what I want to ask you guys. Could you think of a more efficient way to cut this? That's the question I have.
if it wasn't rolled.
Yeah, so are you guys looking how much faster that they've just figured out to do this?
Yesterday, Massey School came here with 35 students and 10 teachers and parents for a 2-day live-in program. And because it was the very first program of the 2010 season, they were involved in an incredible number of innovations that schools have never been involved in before, and in some cases that help has never been involved in before.
Well, the last few years I've been staying out for 2 days. So on the first day we try and do what are called traditional technologies, and we learn how to stone carve, tie-dye, but also hopefully try and get some hut building in on the first day we're out here. So learning how to harvest your own clay, stomp the mud using water and feet stomping, a lot like stomping grapes when you're making wine. Just that right consistency, and having another group go and harvest Caragana branches, and then the cooperation and the teamwork involved. So over the years, all these different huts you can see in the background have actually been worked on or students that I've taught. So for me, it's quite an experience when I think about that part of it. So that part is really neat.
I was pretty skeptical about coming out here at first, seeing as there's not a Starbucks 2 blocks away. I was like, oh. So I was kind of like, okay, but once we actually got out here, it was a lot better than I expected.
First of all, when we got here, we sort of put our stuff down and we listened to the guy talk about what we do here. And then we did tie-dyeing. That was so much fun. We did traditional living, and it was sort of explaining of what goes on in Africa and how they live in their huts or whatever, and how they hang their food so the rats don't get at it, and all those interesting things.
One of my favorite things was the traditional living, which was interesting and it was educating us about how Africans live traditionally.
The school program was a 2-day program. The first day was focused on traditional technologies, where they tie-dyed their own shirts, where they carved the hardest of the world's soapstones. But what is that preparing them for? If I can overcome the hardest of the world's soapstones, well then any other soapstone is going to be like cheese and butter to me. But what else does it mean? Then what other things can I overcome in my own life? And then day 2 says, and what other impact can I make on the world? Had grade 8 students. We're carrying out the research with our intern that's come from Mississauga, for example, in this case on the building technology development, making the first 100% paper brick.
My group, we worked at the paper mill thing to make some paper pulp and help make bricks and stuff. And
working with the kids, I saw them come together as a team, and I think that builds community within them. They started learning about each other, who did what, who's good at doing things, and leadership really came out. You saw confidence in kids in different areas, and that was really great. And a lot of them learned about all this great technology that you would otherwise not have the opportunity to do so. And they did it in a very friendly environment, and it was interesting to see and work with. I learned from them as much as they learned from me, I think.
Awesome.
The second one was done by Tennille Grain Bag Recycling.
Well, in my section, we were doing the grain bag recycling, which is taking giant plastic grain bags and cutting them, rolling them up on poles, and then those rolls are taken and cut into 10-inch sections, which are then cut into 10 by 14-inch squares that are used as mulch pads around trees. Some of them didn't enjoy it that much because it's a very dirty and smelly operation, but they most of the teams, they got a system going to produce the mulch pads really quickly, and they did really well. I don't even know how many they produced, but probably close to 1,000, I'd guess.
We were just doing a zero waste operation where we were cutting up paper, and then we were cutting a line in the middle of them and putting a circle. It was smelly and repetitive, but also I got to talk, so it was pretty fun.
Well, at first we had this great idea that everyone, if you did it on their own and you counted how many you could do on yourself, by yourself, it would go by quickly and you could see who had the most would win. So after a few of us finished rolling all the mulch and stuff, we kind of got together a teamwork thing where we did it in rows, and so one person would cut the squares, the next person would cut lines in the squares, and the third person would cut the small triangle. And it went by really quickly. And so after that, we kicked it up a notch really quickly and we got done faster.
I think it's kind of opening their eyes to new technologies and ways that they can do their part to save the environment. And in some ways it's very simple, like just cutting up plastic and grain bags that would normally be, in many cases, burnt because landfills won't take them. And just doing their part, that gives them a sense of empowerment that they're helping to save the environment, I guess.
I was in charge of the forestry division with the students, and what they did, this was a very first for schools. What they achieved yesterday, I'd never seen.
Well, today we were over there and we shoveled dirt and we mixed it with styrofoam and peat moss or something. So we get really top grade soil, and then we transplant branches and turn them. We put them in little styrofoam holders and put dirt in them and water, and then we hope that they grow to a plant. I think we made 1,500 plus. So proud of myself.
They put over 5,000 tree cuttings in these styrofoam containers, and all this was done in 3 45-minute sessions. Quite amazing. And it wasn't me task mastering and dividing them into the 10 tasks. They organized themselves.
In social studies at the grade 8 level, there's this unit called interdependence, and even what we're doing today on these zero waste workshops all over in the park level here, you can hear it maybe in the background. That's interdependence in action, because they're all dependent on each other, what they're doing.
They teach you in a way that kind of inspires you, and you want to actually get involved with helping all these issues that are going around.
Yeah, the kids, they can learn things here that there's absolutely no way that they can experience it through textbook learning or sitting in a classroom or hearing someone else talk about it. And as the years go by, I start to appreciate how much this program really means. Like there's one student I had, he's now in grade 10. He came back out here and did a volunteer week. Came out here and volunteered, came out with his grandpa. Then he came out again last summer, and then he went on to do a science project that was absolutely stellar when he was in grade 9, based on his experience that he had out here. Like, you just don't know the implications when you bring students out and you let them experience pieces and bits of other cultures, but at the same time connected to our own environment, and solve problems in ways that they maybe wouldn't solve in the classroom.
You can't just sit in the classroom and hear about this stuff. You have to be out here and do it. You know, we're gonna learn how to build a mud hut.
Well, I think when young kids start to do something, it starts to catch on a lot faster in the world, faster than you think. Because things that they may seem little at start, but as they progress on, it passes word through the whole country, and then from there it can grow on and it gets out pretty quickly. So kids starting now will change it for kids coming up, and it'll keep going through generations, I guess.
Kids do not have to wait till they're out of high school or university to make a contribution. Kids want to feel the empowerment that they're needed. that they're needed, that for our very survival, we need our children to be helping. They want to know that they're needed to help solve problems.
Good job. So this is the first brick ever made with styrofoam. Yeah, if you want to make
Environmental programs help the environment and bring attention to the problems with the environment.
Why I would do this again? Because it's a really good learning experience, and you get a lot from it, and you're giving a lot too when you do it. So yeah.
Like I even asked people if this was a summer camp. It was that much fun.
I would do it again because I like the joy of working and knowing it's going to pay off really well. And pretty much everything here, anything I've done here has paid off really well so far. So if I do it all again, I'm getting paid over again.